it was still a big breakthrough. Then when it got Venus, when it hit the moon, it was divorce number 2, and I started seeing wife number 3. That was when it hit the trine to the moon. But like one ended and the other began, still going back on the relationships. Then when it finally hit the retrograde point, the station direct point, I went back to India and I was back in the meditation room again. 30 years later, went to India, and then I was given a notice a year or so later that where I was moving, I had to let go of that. I had to move from there. And that was being a whole lot of disruption. I had to sell the library. I had to change a lot of things to get out of the place, and that changed that. So when I came back to, when out of this 1 degree phase with sin for all these things happening, when I got back to this point, the first point, marriage was over. I set up I moved to St. Nicholas Street. I set up an office, library, class, recording studio, and rented out space. Okay, then the one back, I had sold the library. I had to let it go, really. Moved to Aurora, moved out of Toronto, living in a barn, which was like a recording studio. And my mom came, she was Diane, and she came and stayed with me for a year till she died during that period. So this was this whole period. Then it was starting to go direct. So I helped Mom with that, and I felt I'd already helped Dad before he died. So I was able to help both my parents before they died. I'm grateful emotionally for that. But then Venus came along and came back to the point where I got the divorced and sold the house and started seeing wife number 3. At the point when it came back, I finished I performed my first big performance of the Celestial Harp at the Masonic Temple, and my greatest performance was at the Woodhenge. I built the forest Woodhenge, and then we brought the harp into the forest, and I played, and we have videos of these 2 performances when the Venus hit there. So those are emotional, really, challenges and highs. Then it came back to the Neptune, and when it hit the Neptune, I found out I had to go on a new diet. I found I was diabetic, and I had to start a new diet, and I got a new car. That was the things to remember. They're the tip of the iceberg, and then there's emotional challenge to go on. So that, like, I'd see that, but then if I reflect or meditate on it, then I see the deeper things going on at those times. So this is all just coming out of my little spreadsheet where I have the history, and I have my history every month of every year of my life, and what was going, where I was living, what was going on. I've got most of it filled in with a few 2 or 3 month gaps. So then it goes back, then it goes, when it's going to conjunct the IC, it hits the IC in September 25. It comes back to the IC, my motivation point. That's in 6 years. Then it's going to get out of Scorpio in 2027. Whoops, I got to go back the other way. And then it's going to move into Sag, and it's going to come back to Venus in August of 2027. Then it moves forward in my life for the first time. And then it's still moving through things that I had worked through until, it's not till 2030 that it moves forward. So from when I went station retrograde, that was moving from the riverfront to the apartment building, but also became my first girlfriend. And this point, I've been celibate for some time, and this point is going on. I think it's more, to me, I think it's going to be more mystical. It's not emotionally attached to older complexes. But then you see it's going to go forward from then. So that's my layout. That's my puzzle. Now this is against the background of my Mercury going retrograde, and my Sun's going on. We get all sorts of things going. So these are layers we turn onto. You just work one planet at a time, and you stay with it and work on it in yourself. And we're doing it 1 week at a time, but really, once you've done it, you go back and you study your progressed Sun for a month. Then maybe you spend the progressed Mercury for a month or 2. Then you spend a few months reflecting on your Venus and working through them. You work them till you begin to squeeze more depth and more insight out of them. And as you're doing that, you can go into greater and greater depth. You can go over the stars. You can go over things like, there was a point here, where are we? No, it's not in this one. Okay, so that's the star graph. I love these star graphs. They really help me lay it out and see the back and forth pattern. I have to add the aspects onto it, but it has the stars, it has the things. So I really enjoy these forms, and these would also be part of the computer program if I want to get it done. Okay, now we're going to use some examples. We're going to work through everybody's charts. And I'll try and make sense of it. Now, when I taught these in classes, people had their charts, they had their histories there, and I would hit something, ask them about what's going on, what's happening, we get the information, the feedback right away. Well, in the digital world, that's all personal information. It doesn't come out so much. I put my own out, but I'll go over what the key points are. We're not going to know so much the specifics in a person's life. Okay, you'll know it, and but we'll see, this will cover a number of different situations, so we can be able to talk about something. So here's someone, July 5th, 69, Cancer, Moon in Aries. Okay, but the Venus is in Taurus. Venus in Taurus is a strong place for Taurus to be. Venus, but Mercury's in Gemini, that's strong for Gemini. And so she has the two prime rulers on her rulership tree. Mercury and Venus are in their own sign. So Venus is strong up to a point, but her Venus in Taurus in the 9th house. There's a value of understanding of principles of what's right and what's wrong, that moral right and wrong understanding in the 9th house. But the Venus is opposed to Mars and opposed to Neptune. Okay, it's closer to Neptune, but it's opposed to the two of them, Mars, Neptune conjunct Venus, opposing the Venus. So this means when she was born, there was a lot of confusion about whether they wanted her or not. Maybe they wanted a boy, not a girl, or maybe it was like there was parent. But the aspects in your chart are the situations between your parents when you were born, at birth, not at conception. So there was a lot of confusion here, and she would be born wondering why, who's reliable, who's not, what's right and what's wrong, and there would be a lot of confusion and guilt around, am I worthwhile, I'm not worthwhile, I'm not liked, or what's like, what do I have to do? And she's going to be going out of her way to try and get approval or appreciation from other people. And she's going to, in that process, she's going to eventually develop a strong values about what's right or what's wrong. What do I have to do? So when it comes to relationships, how much do you have to take? How much do you have to give? What do you want? What don't you want? This Venus makes satisfaction very evasive, even though it's in Taurus and has strong tastes, strong values. The circumstances around her intermediate environment, brothers, sisters, whatever, were much more confusing or complicated. It could be something simple as a parents not wanting a girl, or it could be something simple as the father wasn't there, or some stranger thing was going on. But she comes in and picks that up with her life, and for her, she has a guilt. I don't deserve this as much. I'm the cause of these problems. I have these the confusion of Neptune confuses the Venus, and there's anger and frustration. So the sense of being wanted and who's deserving and who's not, that's a big question with this Venus natally. Her Venus it's in the 9th house. It starts out wondering what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, and why am I liked, why am I not liked? It starts there and it builds up to the midheaven. By 86, born in 69, it's 87. So by 18, Venus is on her midheaven, prime time. Maybe she's working, maybe she's getting what she wants, she's building up what she wants. Okay. Or not, this is when we get to our next level, when we're going to work with the transits and the progressions. We start seeing how these work out a little bit more. Right now, we just want to work on the progressions. But this is tied to father, mother status. Did she get her own place? Is she self-worthy? Is she dependent? Is she not dependent? Did she choose a good partner or what? Or would she choose any partner to get away from the family she came out of, or what? Like, it's difficult to say here. Even her moon is just opposed Pluto. It's wide, but it's still there. And there's the T-square. So the personal factors in her chart are all really strongly stressed. But still, she has to use the Venus in the sign in the house and goes up to the midheaven. And she's looking around parents, around what she has, what she hasn't, where she fits in, where she doesn't. And she might know what she wants. It's in Gemini. She has a Taurus, Venus, and thinking, I can get the freedom this way, with the Venus up there. So it could be a lover, it could be meeting someone that gets away from home or gets her out or whatever. Or even a job that gets her own money, make things simpler. Then Venus, so in her life, look at Venus in her life, no retrogrades. It just starts and goes straight forward, goes through Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. it goes from the 9th to the 10th, the 11th to the 12th, into the, and if she lives long enough, into the first house. So her emotions are developed in the functional world around her, not so much at home alone. It's going to be developing in the functional world, where she fits in, where she doesn't fit in, what happens, what doesn't happen. Involvement in career and what's happening around her. She still has her personal world, but the puzzles are outside. So, so as Venus goes in, like at a very early age, Venus goes into Gemini. So then she's going to have the Mercury rulership over her Venus until it hits the midheaven, 18, 91. It's going to, it hits this, I marked in the square points here. So here it's going to, this is the square to Pluto, 91. The Venus comes up and squares Pluto. So 91 is 69, 79, 89. So she's only 22, 91. So she's got something set up. Venus is high up, progressive Venus up in the midheaven. But then it goes forward a couple years, and then there's some confrontation around. Maybe she got married and maybe it didn't work, maybe, but something would have happened at the midheaven and built up, and there would have been a confrontation around it as it hit the Pluto. What's true, what's real, and a harshness coming into those emotions. And it would be working at how she's thinking. In the Gemini, the mercurial element to it. So she wouldn't feel loved or appreciated and would be trying to figure out why. She naturally is always wondering why with that 9th house Venus. What's right, what's wrong? Something's wrong, how come? What can I do? Then Venus went ahead by 94, it conjuncted her Mercury. That's when your values and your talents affect your mind. So her emotions, she's gonna be, and what she wants are gonna be really put right onto her Mercury, onto her mind in the 10th house. So maybe I want to work at something. Maybe I take a job that pays money, pays a lot of money. Maybe it isn't what I want, but it's paying me. It'll get me what I want. I'm self-sufficient. It lets me on my own. Something like that. I don't know. I'm making up a caricature around it. It could be a very different scenario, but not the timings and not the evolution. So this is where on progressions, you're really working with someone else's chart, talking back and forth around it, and you're getting feedback and working with, well, what happened then? What happened there? And like, this is beyond the sense of a normal one-time one-up consultation. This will happen if you're seeing someone over a regular period at intervals and doing a more therapeutic, ongoing thing. And you can work it on your own chart, working through it, and it's always your therapy. So then after it conjuncted the Mercury, while it's being ruled in the sign being ruled by Mercury, so that's a very prominent mental influence on her values. What she liked, what she didn't like, whether she's writing or what she's doing, but that's up in the 10th house. Then it moves up, moves into Cancer. And that Venus suddenly gets ruled by the moon and memories more than just the Mercury. So her values start evolving. Their 10th house, she's measuring how much she's getting paid, what does she need, but her needs, she wants, Venus is in Cancer. It's going through, I want this, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is what I need. And so the idea of memories, the past, family, security starts affecting what I need. So Venus goes in there and immediately it squares Uranus, squares Jupiter and squares Uranus during the whole period. So there's a shock to her values. She's got it set up, but it's changing. Her identity is changing through this as it comes up. This is 98. So 98. So she's 29, Saturn return. Okay, so that's there. So then the Venus goes along and it's going to conjunct the Sun. Now, Venus conjunct the Sun is an interesting thing because there's two times in your life. Either your Sun is going to progress and conjunct your Venus, or your Venus will progress and conjunct your Sun. And often that's a real love of your life, when your Sun conjuncts your Venus, your purpose conjuncts what you want, or what you want gets empowered. So what you want gets really empowered by that Sun. October 2009, Venus conjunct the Sun. Any of these aspects are lasting for a year, almost a year on either side. I would give it 6 months to a year on either side. So they're not just an event on a day. Anywhere in that vicinity, you look and you say, oh, nothing happened there, but 6 months before or 6 months later, yeah, you'll see it like that. It's still tied into this change. This is the empowerment, her Venus finding her importance of what to do, what status, what's control, what she wants,